Ever get that feeling like, you're watching the world kind of play by a different set of rules?
Yeah.
Like you're working hard, trying to be good, all that.
Right.
But somehow it's those rule breakers, the ones who bend ethics, maybe.
Yeah.
They're the ones climbing the ladder of success.
Mm-hmm.
Well, today's deep dive might just shake things up a bit, flip your whole perspective on that.
Oh, interesting.
We're diving into this video really digs into the philosophy of Friedrich Nietzsche.
Okay.
Specifically his take on success and power and why playing nice might not always,
Doesn't always cut it.
doesn't always get you where you want to go.
Right, yeah. This video, it really just dives right in. No punches pulled. Gets to the heart of it with a line, life isn't fair.
Okay.
Power rewards those who take it.
Yeah.
Throws out the fairy tale that, good deeds automatically lead to good fortune.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, it shines a light on the realities of power dynamics. Kind of harsh reality sometimes.
Yeah. It's a bit of a wake-up call for sure. It got me thinking, are we kind of clinging to this idea of fairness
Right.
when the real game is about something else entirely,
Yeah, absolutely.
The video uses some interesting examples, like Steve Jobs,
Right.
his almost ruthless leadership style at Apple.
Yeah.
But it propelled them to success.
Huge success. Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, like, nice guys finish last. Is that just a cliche, or is there
Right.
something deeper there?
I think so, yeah. I think it reflects how power works in many situations. What's really interesting is the video uses game theory to kind of illustrate this.
Okay.
So imagine, like, you have a game where everyone's supposed to be following the rules, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then someone figures out how to bend them without getting caught,
Mm-hmm.
and they get an advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Then everyone else has to either adapt or risk, falling behind.
Yeah.
So it suggests that playing by the rules can sometimes be a disadvantage.
Yeah, especially when others are kind of, exploiting the system.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of unsettling, but also interesting.
It is, yeah.
I'm starting to see why Nietzsche has this reputation for being a little intense.
Right.
So where does he fit into all of this? Like, how does...
Well, he was really interested in the why behind all of this.
Okay.
The why behind these power dynamics. And his concept of the will to power is central to understanding his perspective. He believed that every living thing at its core is driven by this force, this desire to kind of assert yourself, expand your influence, and ultimately overcome resistance to achieve your goals. He even said life itself is a will to power.
Okay, will to power. It sounds, I don't know, it sounds a little intimidating.
It does.
Is he saying that we're all just, like, power hungry?
No, not necessarily. It's not about, like, this conscious craving for domination.
Okay.
But more like this fundamental drive that exists within all of us.
Mm.
Think of it as that energy that fuels ambition, creativity, even just our desire to learn and grow. It's what pushes us to overcome obstacles and really shape the world around us.
Yeah.
Nietzsche's point is that this force is always at play, whether we acknowledge it or not.
Yeah.
And understanding it is key to understanding success.
So maybe those who are really successful are just, like, more in tune with this will to power.
Maybe, yeah. They're not afraid to embrace it.
Even if it means going against the grain a little bit?
Even if it means challenging conventional norms.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. The video goes on to say that Nietzsche saw traditional morality, particularly like Christian morality, as a kind of system that benefits the weak at the expense of the strong.
Mm.
That's a pretty bold statement.
It is a provocative idea, yeah.
Yeah.
He argued that traditional morality, with all that emphasis on humility and self-sacrifice and obedience,
Yeah.
it keeps people in a state of powerlessness.
Yeah.
He called it slave morality.
Slave morality.
Yeah. Essentially, it's this system where the weak resent the strong and try to hold them back instead of striving for their own power.
So if I'm understanding this right, he's saying that, like, clinging to these ideas of fairness, playing by the rules, it can actually prevent us from reaching our potential.
That's exactly it.
That's pretty different from what we're usually taught.
It is a radical departure. He believed that slave morality makes us passive, reactive, and ultimately dependent on others for our sense of worth. It creates a mindset where we wait for things to happen to us instead of taking control and shaping our own destiny.
There's that line in the video that really hit me hard. It says, if you live your life expecting fairness to reward you, you're playing a game designed to keep you from winning.
Yeah, that's a powerful one.
It's harsh, but it makes you think, like, am I playing by rules that are actually holding me back?
That's the core of what makes Nietzsche so relevant even today, I think. He challenges us to really examine these deep-seated beliefs about how the world should work, and to confront the reality that success often goes to those who understand and leverage power dynamics.
Okay. So I've got this idea of world to power and this critique of slave morality. What does it actually look like to embrace this Nietzschean approach?
Right.
The video mentions some pretty specific traits that he associated with successful people.
Yeah, it does. And this is where things get really interesting, because he wasn't just critiquing traditional morality. He was offering a different framework for what drives success. He believed that certain traits were absolutely essential for those who really wanted to master their own fate. And those traits often go against what we typically consider to be virtuous.
Okay, all right. I'm listening. Let's get into this Nietzschean psychology of winners.
Okay.
What are these traits and how do they play out in the real world?
Well, think about it this way. Nietzsche's ideal individual, they're a creator, not a follower. They define their own values, they take risks, and they're totally willing to challenge the status quo, even if it ruffles some feathers along the way.
So not exactly the go along to get along type.
Right.
Yeah. I have a feeling this is going to challenge some assumptions I have about what it means to be successful.
You're probably right about that. But it's definitely worth exploring because, Nietzsche's ideas, while controversial, they offer a really powerful perspective on how to navigate a world that doesn't always play fair.
All right, let's do it. Let's dive in. So these rule-breaking, value-creating individuals, how do they actually operate?
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it?
The video uses examples like Elon Musk, he completely disrupted the auto industry, right? With Tesla, and Warren Buffett, made billions going against conventional wisdom.
Exactly.
It seems like they're not just playing the game differently, but they're rewriting the rules.
They are rewriting the rules. And that's a key element of what Nietzsche called master morality. These individuals, they don't wait for permission or approval. They forge their own path.
Yeah. Often
in direct opposition to what society kind of expects. They understand that power isn't just something you're given, it's something you create.
Okay. But master morality, isn't there a risk of it turning into something, tyrannical?
Sure.
How do we reconcile this idea of self-defined values with the need for ethical behavior?
That's the million-dollar question, right? That's a question that philosophers have been debating for centuries. And Nietzsche himself was very critical of traditional ethical systems. But he wasn't advocating for just a complete abandonment of morality. He believed that master morality wasn't about being cruel or ruthless just for its own sake.
Yeah.
It was about creating a new set of values based on strength, creativity, and self-actualization.
So how do we differentiate between someone who's operating from this master morality and someone who's just, a jerk?
Right. Wow. Well, the video uses the example of Julius Caesar, who was incredibly ambitious and powerful, but also responsible for a lot of bloodshed.
Yeah.
And that's where things get tricky. Nietzsche's philosophy, it's not like this, simple recipe for success.
Right.
It's a very complex framework for understanding human nature and these dynamics of power.
Okay.
He acknowledged that the pursuit of power can be very dangerous and can lead to very destructive outcomes if it's not, tempered by some wisdom and some self-awareness.
So it's not just about embracing the will to power,
right,
but also about developing the self-mastery to wield it responsibly.
Absolutely.
Which makes me think about the flip side of master morality.
Yeah.
What Nietzsche called slave morality. It seems like a lot of us might be caught in that trap without even realizing it.
Yeah. I think it's more common than we realize.
Yeah.
Slave morality kind of manifests in these subtle ways, self-doubt, the need for constant validation from others, prioritizing comfort over growth, even a sense of resentment toward those who are successful.
Right.
And it's a mindset that keeps us playing small, and allows others to define our lives for us.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy almost.
Yeah.
If you believe you're not worthy of success, you're probably not going to achieve it.
Right. Exactly.
But how do we break out of that? The video talks about taking control, creating our own success, but it all seems a little abstract.
Sure. Well, let's try to make it practical.
Yeah.
Think about your own life for a moment.
Okay.
Are there areas where you're holding yourself back because of fear or self-doubt? Or maybe the need to please others.
Okay.
Maybe it's a dream project you've been putting off or a difficult conversation you're avoiding.
Yeah.
Or maybe you just have this belief that you're just not, good enough to achieve something you want.
Oh, you're getting a little close to home now. I think we've all been there.
We have, yeah.
But what does Nietzsche offer as a solution? Is it just like flip a switch and suddenly we're fearless?
No, not really. Remember, Nietzsche wasn't advocating for like recklessness or, blind ambition. He believed in the power of conscious self-creation.
Yeah.
So it's about recognizing those limiting beliefs, those remnants of slave morality.
Yeah.
And actively choosing to challenge them. It's about asking yourself, like, what do I truly value?
Okay.
What do I want to create in the world? And am I willing to step outside of my comfort zone to achieve it?
So it's a shifting perspective then.
It is, yeah.
From being like this passive recipient of circumstances
Right.
to like this active agent shaping our own destiny. But it's also kind of daunting, right? Like it's one thing to like intellectually grasp these ideas,
Yeah.
but putting them into practice in like the real world, that can feel overwhelming.
Of course. It's not, a simple overnight transformation. It's a process.
Yeah.
A process of self-discovery, of learning to kind of navigate these power dynamics in a way that aligns with your values and your goals. And that's also what makes it so empowering. It's about realizing that you have more agency than you might think. And that success isn't just something that happens to you. It's something you create.
Okay, that's starting to click for me. It's not about becoming a Nietzschean superhero, but it's about developing this like deeper awareness of ourselves and the forces at play around us.
Exactly.
But we're running out of time, and the video wraps up with some pretty like powerful takeaways. Let's dive into those final thoughts. So we've been unpacking Nietzsche's ideas on power and morality and the traits of those who are really successful.
Yeah.
And the video, it leaves us with a pretty stark statement. Nietzsche forces us to confront a brutal truth. Success isn't about fairness, it's about power.
Kind of cuts to the chase, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It challenges that comforting narrative that we often tell ourselves, like, if we're just good enough, work hard enough, things will eventually even out. But Nietzsche's philosophy, like we've been talking about, it pushes us to confront a different reality.
And the video doesn't let up there. It goes on to ask this question. It really stuck with me. Will you take control of your life and assert your own power, or wait for someone else to define your fate? It's almost like a challenge.
It is, yeah. It's a call to action, isn't it? It's urging us to consider how these ideas might actually apply to our own lives, our own ambitions. It's about recognizing that we have a choice to make. Either we actively shape our own path, or we passively allow others to determine our course.
At the beginning of this deep dive, I was a little skeptical. I'll admit, Nietzsche can seem pretty harsh, kind of unforgiving.
Yeah.
But the more we've explored it, the more I see it as a wake-up call. It's not about becoming ruthless or disregarding ethics, but about taking responsibility for our own lives, our own choices.
I think that's a great way to put it. It's about recognizing that power that we have within ourselves to create the life that we want, rather than waiting for someone else to give it to us.
Yeah.
It's about shifting from a mindset of scarcity and limitation to one of abundance and possibility.
So for our listeners out there, I think the real takeaway here is this. How much of your life is dictated by what you think you should be doing versus what you truly want to do? Are you letting fear, self-doubt, or the opinions of others hold you back from your true potential?
Those are powerful questions to reflect on. And maybe, just maybe, by confronting those really deeply held beliefs and challenging those remnants of slave morality, we can actually start to create a life that's more aligned with our authentic selves, with our deepest aspirations.
It's definitely a journey worth embarking on. This deep dive has given us a lot to think about, and I have a feeling we'll be revisiting these ideas long after we're done here. Thanks for guiding us through this fascinating and at times unsettling exploration of power and success.
My pleasure. And to our listeners, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep striving to create the life you want. You have more power than you realize.